You are tuning in to Jon Pierre and Mary's fun-loving, crazy, and honest podcast.
If it don't smell bad, it must be clean.
Unequally Yoked, where any and every topic, life,
Marriage.
I'll go first because I have something to say.
Uh-oh.
kids, and entrepreneurship are up for discussion.
How does Mary, a pastor's daughter,
And Jon, a guy who rarely saw the inside of a church growing up, get together
No.
and stay together.
We all have roles.
what does life look like 10 plus years into marriage?
2 kids and trying to run a family business.
How do we keep this nest egg from cracking?
What you mean?
Listen in to Unequally Yoked as we dive in to give a man
Next. And woman's perspective
Somebody back me up on
Nobody.
to all the topics married folks are talking about.
this. Are you ready?
Let's do this, boo. Hey guys, welcome back to Jon Pierre and Mary's Unequally Yoked. This is episode 3 where we are digging in and talking about pursuing your passions.
That's right. I'm super excited about this episode. This is a really big deal for me just in general, not only about pursuing your passions in life, but just trying to be passionate about life, period. So I'm really excited about this episode.
Yeah, I definitely told Jon he will be leading this episode because this is all about, this is what he's all about. And this is why we're on the journey that we've been on because, Jon said, hey, we're going to step out and I want to do something that makes me feel good and is good for my family. And he'll tell you guys all about that. We want to just first thank you guys for tuning in. And we've gotten a lot of great response on social media. So if you guys want to follow us and continue to give us feedback, please follow us on Mary TJP, which is on Twitter and Instagram.
And I am at Jon Pierre TJP on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, you can follow us on Facebook and our podcast, Unequally Yoked.
Yes, Unequally Yoked. We've been getting from our social media a lot of singles. We got the single people out there. Listen, we are only speaking from our perspective of being married for almost 11 years. But the things that we talk about, as well as the homework assignment that we give at the end of each episode, can 100% apply to you as a single person. So speaking of last week's homework assignment, we'll jump right into that. Do you remember what it was?
I do. Do you?
Yes. It's like if I was a teacher, okay, I said this last week because you said it wasn't fair that I already had my answer. Teachers, if they are good teachers and they are preparing their syllabus or preparing for homework, they know the answer because that's what, right?
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
And that's what you do.
Yes. And since I come up with the homework assignments every week, yes, I remember what the homework assignment was. I'm just trying to trick you and see if you remember.
Well, very good. Yes. Our homework assignment last week was to try to take on a role that the other person does. And just a quick piggyback on what Mary was saying about our podcast being from our perspective of being married. 100% it is. But I also just think that, whether you're married or not, or girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, in a relationship or not, single or not, I think there's still, things you can take away if we're talking about applying this homework, which was to take on something from your other person's role. If it's just someone significant in your life, maybe it's, you're struggling with your boss or you're struggling with your friend or whatever the case may be, and just trying to see things from their perspective. It can definitely be a humbling experience. And I think that was our experience as we're about to get into.
Yep. So, honey, what role did you step into last week that you wouldn't typically step into? You wouldn't do?
Well, I mean, so we've been married for a long time. So I think there's a lot of things that we've already done that aren't typical. But I know last week was Thanksgiving. And normally you like to do a lot of cooking for that, which you did. But I actually cooked something as well, which is pretty good, I think.
It was delicious.
And I made some broccoli cheese casserole. And so I haven't cooked.
I think it was like my favorite thing on my plate of all the stuff that I ate. I'm not kidding. It was delicious.
Well, I appreciate that. It was definitely interesting. I haven't cooked like that in a while. Usually when I do cook now, it's really quick stuff, maybe a soup or something. But
the holidays are usually my thing.
Yeah. So that was fun to jump in there and get in there. And one of the things that you're really good at that I am not so good at is cleaning up while you cook. And
that's top chef stuff. You're supposed to, if you're a good chef, you're supposed to clean as you cook.
Right. So I tried to make sure that I took that into account and really paid attention to the fact that I didn't want to leave a mess whenever you step back into the kitchen. So I tried really hard to.
Well, that's because I let you go last because I can't deal with stress. I didn't know that you were going to clean after you cook, but I greatly appreciate it.
It was a turn.
I already completed all of my other dishes. And you were able to step into a clean kitchen. So the first horn. DJ horn.
But
of the
the
episode.
second thing I did was I haven't done Harper's hair in the morning in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so one morning I got up and took care of Harper, and I haven't done that in a while. And man, her hair is long.
Super long.
And it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
I feel like I have something to do with that other than genetics, that I've been putting that moisturizer and, keeping up with her hair and 2-strand twisting and braiding and doing all kinds of things that I didn't want to do when I had a little girl.
Yes. Well, I did all those things, and it took me probably 35 minutes just to do her hair. And we got out of here super late. So on those days that we get out of here on time and you take care of her, I definitely appreciate it, can see how hard it is to actually do it, because it's not easy. She got a lot of hair.
Yes, she does. But her son is, your son, should I say.
She said her son.
Yeah, her son. Well, she does say it's her brother, her Grayson. He belongs to her. But yeah, he has a lot of hair too. And you usually take care of him. In that particular morning, you took care of both children's, which enabled me to just lay in the bed for a hot second. And that was really nice, because I tell you what, it's much needed and much appreciated.
Here we go.
So did you notice what I did? Did you notice the roles that I stepped into?
I did not.
Wow. That's okay.
But did you notice mine? Did you notice mine?
Well, yeah, I just said I appreciated it.
No, yes, appreciate. Did you notice it when it was happening?
What, the casserole thing?
Uh-huh.
But I asked you to make a dish. You didn't do that on your own.
What about Harper?
Okay, you get credit for that.
Exactly.
I mean,
I don't want credit. I'm just saying.
I don't recall you being like, "Oh, you could stay in the bed" or anything. I don't know how that happened. So I want to give you your credit though. Okay, yes. Go ahead, give yourself a DJ horn for that. Let them take a shot on your behalf. But it's okay. So here's a role that I stepped into. Now, I think I brought this up in, I think, our first episode where we talk about, or maybe it was just on the roles one, where I said we have color coordinated chores and things like that. Well, one of the chores that I don't want to use the word hate, despise doing is stripping our bed and
you sure did
sheets.
Do that. You sure did.
Let me tell you something. And I wanted to be present in trying to understand why it is that I don't like it while I was doing it.
Yes.
Our bed is too big.
All right. It's a big bed.
I'm a small person.
You are.
And it's funny because I watched this episode, and if I'm spoiling for anybody, then you're super behind. There's an episode of This Is Us where they did like a timeline of Jack and Mandy Moore's character like changing the sheets together.
Right.
And it was like over the years, as their life progressed. And then, you've watched kind of, sort of, a little bit. Well,
we have our own version of This Is Us.
Okay. Well, after Jack passed, which, for those of you who are This Is Us fans, Mandy Moore was there doing the sheets by herself.
Right.
I 100% feel like it's a 2-person job. And because you're so much bigger than me,
yes,
I think you can handle it.
All by myself.
All by yourself.
This 2-person job.
I'm just saying, my arm span isn't big enough. I'm running around the bed trying to catch one corner. I was out of breath.
So for the record, this job that you identified as a 2-person job, you have now given to me solely.
It's supposed to be, it's your role. And I don't like it. It's not fun. And I
that's hilarious.
I end up, doing our sheets and the kids' sheets. And I was out of breath. Like, it was a lot. I was sweating and stuff. And it's just not cute. You can do it. You could do it because you don't care. You're a guy. You don't care about sweating and all that stuff. So,
Right.
However, let me bring it back.
Bring it back. Bring it back around.
I'm just saying, I appreciate that you do the sheets.
Well, there we
because
go.
It's not fun.
It is not fun.
And I did something else too.
What did you do?
I did some light. I used the word light, like super lightly.
Mm-hmm.
I did some financial stuff. I moved some money around. I bust out a pen and paper, and because I like to write things down. Did you see me doing that?
I did not see you doing that.
What?
But that's okay. That's okay because
You didn't see me transferring money around. And
I did not see you doing it.
Wow.
But I'm sure I saw the effect of it. But I will say, whenever you sat down, I think there was a moment where you sat down. I was in the other room, and you came and sat down, and you like went through line item by line item, what money was where, what was all
Super
those.
stressful.
Yeah. And I was like, man, that was actually pretty good. I even from the conversation, I felt like somewhat just a little bit more organized. You know what I mean? Even that was actually really, I did take notice of that. I took notice of the fact that was really cool.
Well, I will say this again. What I loved about this this challenge is that it really makes you appreciate what the other person brings.
Yeah.
And I don't like changing sheets, and I don't like talking about money.
Oh.
Because it is just, the sheets are stressful and money is stressful.
So what you're basically saying is the things that you assign to me to do are things you find stressful.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. If you don't like something, like I don't like cleaning, but I know I'm better at it than you are.
Yes.
So, just like I think you're a better cook, not chef, cook.
Wait, is there a difference?
Yes.
What is the difference, ma'am?
You go in there and sling pots around.
Right.
And, well, you do cut up your own vegetables.
Yes.
I buy mine pre-chopped. Okay, this is, you know
what I'm saying?
This is getting off. The whole point
it's getting way off.
Of stepping into each other's roles was to, just see what the other person's, I don't know, daily responsibilities or weekly, monthly responsibilities. And then in turn, I feel like we both appreciated that. What do you think?
I did. No, even though we didn't, and that's one of the things that I think is interesting is we didn't notice in the moment what the other person was doing, but now that we've talked about it, it's pretty cool to look back and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, that was a big deal. And that just kind of, it's like an aha moment. Actually, it's like you don't ever want to like, well, I did this and I did this, and like try to give yourself credit. But I definitely think it's important to somehow make it known that you did something. So we have to work on that. Actually, that's a pretty cool thing that we should work on and be like, hey, you know what? I tried to do this to take a little bit off your shoulders, and just find a way to let the other person know that, we're trying to help each other out, because we get caught up in our own day, in our own business, and we don't really take time to acknowledge and see what the other person is doing in the moment.
Yeah. And I feel like that
cool.
translates into the business aspect of it too, for those of you who aren't married or single and, go to work every day and you feel like, man, I'm working so hard, I'm busting my butt. My boss don't even see it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
you the boss. That's what Luis says. You the boss.
Well, he says that behind your back.
No, he says it to me behind your back.
No, okay, but very kind. But yes, just, working hard, and I think we all want to feel appreciated and feel valued and have sometimes just have a little pat on the back and just say good job.
Right. So my love, good job. Good
Appreciate
job on the sheets.
I didn't get a pat on the back though.
Pat on the back. Pat.
And a DJ horn.
Burn, 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 burn.
Awesome. Well, that will take us into our topic today.
Yes.
Which is, pursuing your passion. So my question to you, Jon, because I'm still struggling with this personally. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure if I'm walking in my purpose just yet, but yeah. I think that has a lot to do with my own insecurities. So my question to you, because you seem to have it down, is how does one take the first step in pursuing their passion? Because that's what I feel that myself as well as others are fearful of. Like you're not even knowing what the first step is.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And, even though just full disclosure, you took a set of notes and I took a set of notes. And after my title of Pursuing Passions, the first thing I have is, how do you find your passion? That's exactly what you just asked, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that that is finding your passion is actually it's an offspring of figuring out who you are, right? So like the thing you just said when you talked about having fears and insecurities, I think that's a huge part of what gets in the way of finding your passion, because you're feeling unsure about whatever it is that you're doing. And so I think that part of being able to find what it is that you love and what it is that you're good at is being able to get past the fears that you have in the pursuit of something. Right? I think a lot of times we get fearful of success. I was fearful of stepping out on my own, just coming from the place that I came from, right? So working with your family,
it's kind of like a crutch.
Yeah, having that security blanket at all times, right? And so for me, even though I had these grandiose dreams of doing my own thing, the fear of stepping out on my own always got in my way.
Yeah.
And so, that's what kept me from pursuing passions. And so,
the first step is figuring out what your passion is, right? So you said it's figuring out who you are.
Yeah, it's figuring out who you are.
Well, that takes time.
Sure does.
I mean, everyone's not old like you, so I mean, is it an age thing, or do some people just already know? Because I could tell you, full disclosure, I, for a very long time, used to pray. And I say used to. And I said I don't pray no more because I pray. Okay?
You do.
DJ
you definitely do.
For the prayers. Okay. But I used to just pray and ask God just to help me find my purpose, because I didn't understand, especially compared to you. I always felt like, you have so many talents to pull back on.
Stop that.
I'm just. Have we not had this conversation before?
We have, and I think this is part of. So look, yeah,
but
they about to get the real. They about to get the real. This is good.
Well, it's true, because I've always thought that when you have a talent, I don't know, you're like wearing a cape, or you're like saving the world, and you're doing all of these, grand things.
Of which I have done none. Yes.
Well, because people really like you.
Yes.
And I hate to say I have struggled with being a people pleaser. But people like you. You are a photographer. Like you have so many talents. Like the things that you do, it comes very easily to you. So I just didn't understand why I didn't have a talent until I realized what my talent was.
Which is?
I am just good with people.
You are very good with people, but I will take it a step further, because a lot of these people that are listening to our podcast have seen your work on TV.
Oh, well.
So the fact that you're able to take, without some formal education, the ability to come into a place and see beauty and then make it come to life is a talent in and of itself. I agree with you that you're also a people pleaser. And I'm not a people pleaser, but a person who can help others.
Right, because that's what my, design thing is. Just, we'll talk about that another time. But the underlying reason as to why I do what I do is because I realized that from working in hotels and, being a flight attendant, and even now stepping into a role as a designer, my motivation is to make people happy. So that still is the people pleaser coming out of me, but it's only because I just love making people happy. Like I remember working at the Woodlands Resort with Myron Washington. Shout out Myron. And he used to say to us
in the
all
LSU
the time,
games.
Yeah,
always the Saints games.
He used to say to us all the time, we have the easiest job in the world, and that's making people happy. And that always resonated with me, because I want to make people happy. I want to be of service to them and be of service to others.
I agree. And it comes through. It comes through. So I think that number one, that's a huge talent, because not everybody can do it. And number two, you do it naturally. You don't even have to try to do it. I think
so.
That,
should I say that's my is that how do you recognize what your passion is?
Well, that's what that's what it gets back to the whole thing of understanding who you are. So, part of that all the things that I went through in the transition between working from working with our family to stepping on our own, all the personal development things that I went to, and the journey that took me on. And that was huge for me. That was a huge aha moment, where you really have to delve in and figure out exactly who you are. You have to figure out why it is you hold grudges, who it is you think is wrong. Like, I had to go through all these things about trying to figure out.
Which was not fun.
No,
and
it wasn't fun at all.
Watching you go through it
No.
because it was very. People don't want to be uncomfortable, especially when it comes to feelings.
People don't want to be uncomfortable, and people don't want to have to take responsibility. And I had to take responsibility for the way that I was feeling about all the people in my life. Right.
And those feelings you felt held you back from pursuing your passion?
Absolutely. Because a lot of the things that we put off on other people are really just reflections of ourselves.
Ooh, you preaching.
So whenever you hold a grudge against somebody, so here, I'll be honest. Like, so at the time I was struggling a lot with like how to deal with interpersonal family relationships, right? Like I would hold my dad or hold my mom accountable for things that I wasn't holding myself accountable for.
But a lot of people blame their parents. Isn't
Oh,
that
heck,
something?
yeah, that's normal. Like we all do it.
Wait till Harper and Grayson grow up.
they
And
gonna-
everything is going to be our fault.
Everything's gonna be our fault, right?
It can never be that, you're the one making bad choices.
Right.
It's definitely their fault.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that I was struggling with at the time is that, because of all the things that were going on, I had a huge problem with my dad. Like I felt like everything he was doing was wrong. And so going through those personal development classes, it really changed my outlook and realized that what I was making him wrong for was actually just a reflection of me not doing it myself. And so whenever I had to own up and be like, hey, Dad, listen, I'm sorry, man. I've been treating you this way and it just wasn't right.
You called and told him that.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was hard. I think I told you. I think I dialed his number 4 or 5 times and then hung up before I even let it ring.
Wow.
Before I actually called him, right? And so after I told him that, I apologize and the way that I've been treating you just wasn't right is because the way that I've been looking at you is really just how I've been feeling about myself. It really opened up and lifted this burden, which I didn't see happening, but it really just opened up my eyes to the rest of the world. And then a myriad of other things that I had to do at the time. And so going on that personal development, that self-development journey, it opened up my eyes to the ideas and realizations of who I am, and then the possibilities of what we can create.
So when you were able to basically unload all of the
burden, the baggage. Who's
and-
Erica Badu with the bag lady?
You were a bag lady?
I was a bag man.
Oh, bag man. Man, well, let's spell it. Not bad or bat.
No,
B-A-G.
B-A-G.
You were
Bag.
But we all have baggage, and we all, can definitely identify with that. What happens when you are in pursuit of your passion, or for those of you who, for example, and I don't want to say any names, we have a friend who obviously has a great talent, but has a family and, works a 9 to 5, makes very good money.
Right.
But is afraid to, and I don't know if I want to use the word afraid, but I think a lot of it is fear-based, like a lot of things.
Like most things, yeah.
Yeah, doesn't want to step out and pursue that passion because that passion may not produce money. And you gotta, take care of your family. So there are people out there who are like, man, I would love to do this and I would love to do that, but doing that right
gotta pay
now,
bills.
yeah, how am I gonna pay my bills? Because we gotta live.
Right.
So what do you say to that?
Yeah, no, I say that, you have to figure it out. Like in the end, I think it all goes back to fears and fears can be a really, strong word to use, but I think in general that's just I don't want to use fear like you're scared out of your life. I think a lot of times fear comes in the form of uncomfortability. It comes in the form of not wanting to put yourself in a position where you don't know what the outcome will be.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that it's important that you definitely have to figure out a way to pay your bills. That's number one. But there's a lot of hours in a day. Right. So if you work a 9 to 5 and you got to sleep for 6 hours, maybe 8 hours.
Or like you, 2 to 4.
Right. If you're okay with sleeping 4 hours, even better. But let's say you work an 8-hour job or a 9-hour job, 2 hours because you live in Houston or you live in some major city, 2 hours for traffic. That's 10 hours. You got to sleep for 6 hours. That's 16 hours. You got, to take care of all the other things you do in your life. Another 4 hours.
Doing that math.
Right. That's 20 hours. You still got 4 hours left in your day to figure out how to pursue your passions. And so whatever it may be.
Well, because you're saying pursuing passions takes sacrifice, which means you need to sacrifice.
You got to sacrifice
sleep.
here's my quote.
So go ahead with your quote,
this is my
because I
quote.
wanted to give them a breakdown of how your day used to look like.
Yeah. So I think that, my quote is this: people who do extraordinary things were doing the extraordinary before the extraordinary happened.
Okay.
Right? So the people that you see out there in the world that are doing the massive things, the things that people who are changing the world, people who are made a lot of money. Beyonce, I mean, whoever
Shout
your
out, B.
role models are. Like we've been
The
watching
Rock.
The Rock. We've been watching The Masked Singer. We just saw Patti LaBelle get unveiled. Patti LaBelle has been like her voice is
Just too recognizable.
world recognizable,
Yeah.
right? Like you knew it as soon as it didn't matter if she had a mask or anything. Anyways, people who are doing the greatest things, they were doing great things before they were recognized for the great things that they're doing. They were doing the things that most people in the world are not doing.
So
And
you need to recognize it in yourself.
you have to recognize yourself and be willing to put in the same amount of work. And so, nothing that's worth having comes easy. Nothing that you love doing gets done without the work you got to put in, whether that's for something that you love, whether it's for your wife, your kids, parents, whatever it is. It all takes sacrifice.
A lot of sacrifice. And so that's why I wanted to just give a quick example of what your day used to look like. As when we talk about sacrifices, you sacrifice time, you sacrifice, when I say quality time, you sacrifice your body because that's your health. When you're not sleeping, like something is being left,
Sacrificed.
so yes, something is being sacrificed.
Something is
Exactly.
being sacrificed. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And not only that, so, my day would basically wake up around 7:00, right? Get the kids ready for school, take them to school, then go to work. At the time I was a realtor.
You still are a realtor.
Yeah, I'm still a realtor, but I'm just saying at that time, like what I was doing heavily at that time was realtor.
Yeah, starting out with that when you
photography.
have nothing.
Yeah, when you have nothing, you spend a lot of time just trying to get clients and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was a photographer at the time. I was refereeing basketball at the time. I was doing jiu-jitsu and MMA at the time pretty heavily. And so it would be work as a realtor from basically 8:00 until 3:00 ish. Then if I had a photography gig in that time, I'd get it done.
Yeah, because you were doing home photography at that time for
Yeah.
other realtors,
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would do that.
driving out the Timbuktu.
Right. And then
2 cents on the dollar.
for the majority of the, during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I would probably have a basketball game or two to go to in the afternoon. So I would go
But
referee.
you would pick the kids up from school after doing that. Pick the kids up from school. We
Yeah.
come home. You eat dinner.
Yeah.
We hang out with the kids.
Yep.
You put them down to bed.
Yep.
At 8:00,
Yep.
and then from
9
8 to
o'clock-ish?
9 o'clock is when I go to sleep. Okay,
Right.
9:30, pushing it, and then from 9:30 to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I stop even.
Yeah. You stop coming down.
You would be up. So
I'll be up
from
working on. Yeah.
almost 7 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Yeah.
That was your
That was my day for
That
like
was your day.
8 months.
unbelievable.
Right. And the big thing that I learned from that, outside of the fact that I was not feeling good the majority of the time, I'd have like those every 2 or 3 weeks. I just have this like crash day
Yeah,
where
you
I
would
would just
crash.
sleep for an entire day
Yeah,
and then pick up
it
and
was
do it
horrible.
again. But the other part of it was that we didn't really see each other in that time either. You would go to sleep at like 9 o'clock. I wouldn't come into bed till like 3 o'clock. I would try my best not to disturb you, although I wasn't really all that successful with it because I'd usually wake you up. But I wasn't seeing you. I didn't get to see the kids a lot. And so what I was sacrificing outside of just my own body and energy and all that kind of stuff was I was sacrificing time with my family, with my wife. And that was a huge sacrifice. You end up having to come to me and was like, listen, John, you can't do this. Like, this is not going to work, period. So
it's
you got to
not
figure out
healthy.
another way.
But in that, I would like to say that it was just temporary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what people need to know, that you can pursue your passion and your purpose and know that the sacrifices, we're never going to stop making sacrifices, okay? But know that during that time, yes, for 8 months he slept, 3 to 4 hours a day, but that was temporary. And
Right.
now you're able, all that hard work that you put in, all those sacrifices that you made have paid off.
It has. It's paid off in the way that we've been able to make it, and that's kind of like my next point, right? Just kind of jumping onto the fears of, can you make it pursuing your passions, you know,
And the answer is yes, right?
you absolutely can make it, but it requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot. You're going to work way harder than you would working for somebody else to try to make it until you actually make it.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that part of the journey, you know, I don't think you will realize when you've actually made it because you're going to be so busy working hard. But I think that whenever you are following and doing what it is you love doing, the work becomes easier. If you have a family, it becomes a little bit harder because you got a lot of time that you have to split with your kids and your wife, but it's still worth it because in the end, you are doing something that makes you happy and it makes you feel fulfilled. And the stress of having to figure out how you're going to make money and make it, that stress is more easily dealt with because you know that you're in control. Versus whenever you're working for somebody else, there's no way to get past the stress of walking into a job you hate, right? Like that just wears on you over time. You can't do anything about that. That's something you can't change. You can change how much money you make. You can't change a job that you hate unless you quit, right? And so that's a big deal for me. That's a big deal. So,
so let's give everyone, and even including myself, let's give the homework assignment.
I think that the homework assignment would be, this could be a heavy one, but I think that it's really important that you sit down and figure out, what are you scared of?
We're going to dive into fears.
I'm just saying, man, like for real, like what are you scared of? What is it that is keeping you from doing the thing that you love the most? What is it that you are putting on somebody else or some other thing that is in actuality within your control?
So what is keeping you from pursuing your passion? I'm typing this down because I didn't come up with the homework assignment this week.
I'm the teacher this week?
You're the teacher.
Interesting. I don't know how that's going to work out.
This is going to be great. I look forward to, I don't like being uncomfortable and other people don't like being uncomfortable, but it's okay to... you don't have to share this with anyone. We would love if y'all share it with us on our social media at MaryTJP.
And at Jon Pierre TJP. And I do want to say real quick that we really appreciate the feedback we've been getting. It's really good.
We do. And, we would love to hear what it is that you think is preventing you from pursuing your passion. What is it that you're afraid of? Why are we afraid of stepping out? This is going to be a good one. I'm excited.
Why are we afraid? It's a big deal, man. It really is. I think it's a big deal. And I think that, before you can find your passion, you really do have to realize and recognize what you're scared of. Is it failure? Is it success? Is it, it could be a lot of things that are holding you back, and they're not always necessarily negative. Is it your mom or your dad? Right? Like, I think that this could probably, I don't even think we really got into the whole passion thing as much as we could, but I do think we should continue this conversation next week.
Yeah.
If you guys out there listening,
this is not a one episode conversation.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot, man. We could probably do this for about another 5 or 6 episodes. But
so next week's episode, we're going to continue talking about pursuing our passions, and we're going to dive into the fear part of what prevents us from pursuing our passion.
Yes, 100%.
So come back and tune in. And like we said, we'll see you guys on social media this week.
Bye.